Good afternoon, everybody. We're here gathered to talk about something really serious. I mean, we're talking about the with the capital M, which is meditation. Ooh. All right. It is not. Let's just make it clear. It's not a serious matter, but it does require, what would you call it? Sincerity. That's true. Not seriousness, sincerity. And a willingness to see what is there to be seen. All included, whatever arises within. But let me ask you one question. If you would have to define meditation in like 1 to 3 words, if you're close to your computer, can you write it on the chat? Like a definition, whatever comes to your mind, the first thing. Awareness, acceptance, mindfulness, observing, being still, true nature, yes, contemplation, that a little less, presence, yeah, silence, be, yeah, like be, the shorter one, truth, being, joy, connection, inward reflection and stillness, centering. A state of mind, well, we're going to talk about that. Centering, yeah, breath, that's part of it. Just being, absolutely. Being present and in a space of non-judgment, true. Consciousness, awareness, presence in the now, yes, 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 consciousness. To be. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. So I can just shut up and you guys know better than I do. You know it all. There's nothing to add, but I will try to. Let's take a few of these. Presence in the now. That's a nice one. What does it mean? Presence in the now. Presence means that my attention is united, let's say, with the present moment. It means presence means there is no distracting, wandering thoughts, for example, that would take me away from the present moment. Yeah. And as if you have been practicing a little bit meditation, you will know that that's a little bit one of the sometimes biggest challenges is the thinking mind, what we call the thinking mind or the egoic mind. That is in itself a very useful tool. Yeah, mind is wonderful for functioning in the world, first of all, functioning in a society. And it's a great organizer, you know, get really things done. It's also great for storing memories that you need to function. And mind is also great applied to, for example, things like science, you know. Science would not exist without the mind. As a matter of fact, science is a byproduct of the mind. So the mind can dissect and analyze and concentrate its attention to one little object as little as an atom now, right? And dissect it. So mind is wonderful for these things, but just because of these qualities of the mind, which are analyzing, dissecting, memorizing, holding memories, it can become, well, it does become a hindrance to meditation. It's not made for that. Yeah, the thinking mind or the egoic mind is made for the world. It's created by the world for the world. Nothing wrong with that. But when you want to move into the inner world, it does not work. It's not made for that. Yeah. The inner world is not something that can be grasped or even accessed by the thinking mind. So when we approach our meditation practice and we sit and we close our eyes and we observe what is happening inside, we will become aware of different things, right? Like, for example, body sensations. We will become aware of things that I perceive through the senses. And I become aware of a certain maybe mood. I might become aware of certain emotions. But a big chunk of the space will be taken by the thinking mind, by the thoughts. Because our identification, in particular modern man, identification with the mind has become so great to the point that some dude a few centuries ago, Descartes, he said, cogito ergo sum, which means basically I exist because I think. I mean, we went that far into identification with the mind to say, I exist because I think. Basically, I am the mind. That's what he was saying. And that was completely being taken for, oh yeah, it's true, by the common. It became common knowledge. It became part of the collective subconscious. So that's how far away we went to understand who we are. And that is the epitome of identification with the egoic mind, with the thinking mind. I would change the statement and I would say, I think, therefore I'm not, which is the opposite of what he said. And for sure, I'm thinking, therefore I'm not present. Why is that? Well, first of all, because the mind is always moving either to the past or to the future. If you observe your thoughts, observe them thoroughly, you will see that they are either past related, that means they are connected to some memory, or they are future related, which means they are imagination. They are imagining something that is not yet, okay? I don't want to go too deep, but then you will also see that future stands only on the shoulder of the past, because without memories, you could not even imagine the future. But so in the present moment, there is no need for the thinking mind. I mean, the egoic mind I'm referring to. Of course, if you have to be a task that requires a certain function of your brain, that's totally fine. But that's not the mind I'm talking about. The mind I'm talking about is the egoic mind, which is that belief that I am the mind, I am my thoughts. These thoughts are mine and they're very important. That's what I'm referring to. That kind of mind, yeah? It's a capital M mind. The Buddhists have a big capital M, capital M mind that I cannot relate to, but that's a different thing. So to be present means to be able to be in the present. It's exactly, and the present is a presence. Yes. Allora, one time I look at a dictionary and I was like, let me see, how do they define being present, you know? And I look it up and really, I could not find anything interesting. It was like being present to a meeting and blah, blah, blah. I was like, no. And then I was like, okay, let me look at the opposite, being absent. And sure enough, the first line was perfect. It said, being absent, definition, being lost in thoughts. I was like, wow, they even know about it. Even the dictionary has the correct definition. So if being absent means being lost in thoughts, then being present means having no thoughts. That allows you to be in the present moment, to experience the present moment for what is. Yeah, that usually is in a space, in a gap between the last thought that ended and the next thought that hasn't come yet. In that gap, that's the present moment. Okay? You following me up to here? Good. So, because of the identification with the mind that I was talking about, that same identification that, oh, these are my thoughts and are very important and this is me, we tend to get lost into the thoughts and we get carried away. So we lose presence because we just said it. We get carried away. Lost in thought means being absent. So we become absent because our attention is merged with the thinking process, right? And so we give it attention and we are so in the thought. That's the energy that the thought uses and receives, is the fuel for the thoughts to keep going. Yeah. So my attention and my belief in the thought is what makes the thought go. And it could go. You know how fast the mind can move. You can go from here to Nepal in like a few seconds, you know, and through different thoughts and this and that and that and that and that. In the moment I notice that I'm thinking, so what's happening there? There is a separation from the thought process and my attention. Yeah. While in the middle of the thought, my attention or my awareness and the thought were completely merged, and therefore the thought was fueled by that. In the moment I realized, oh, whoa, I was going to Nepal, I was lost in that thought. This happens, there is a separation between the thought itself, I call it the object, and the one that notices that, which is me, which is the subject. So suddenly they're separated. What happens in that moment that I remove my attention, my identification from the thought loses its fuel, because we were saying the fuel of the thought is my attention, right? And so it goes like, boo, and it's just like a balloon that loses the air. The thought ends in that moment. That's the great news. So on one hand, it's very difficult to find a stop button for the thinking mind. You can try. You can try to stop the mind and you will see what happens. Probably you will succeed for a few seconds. And if you're lucky enough, even 10 seconds before another thought is in and you get carried away. You get absorbed by it. So a stop button is, we don't know where it is. If you find it, please tell me, because I've been practicing 40 years. I haven't found it yet. But there is a pause button, and the pause button is what I just described. Noticing, becoming aware that I'm thinking. That's enough. That pauses the thought or stops it completely. So in the common world, most people go around their whole life sometimes not even being aware that they're thinking. That's how identify we are with the thinking mind. So first thing we need to do is to bring awareness. You know, this word, this voice inside your head that keeps talking, and this and that, you know, that's the thinking mind, right? But it talks and talks and talks, but nobody's listening to it. You know, we're not even aware that it's talking sometimes. So we should start listening, at least listening to what is it saying. And then when we listen, we notice that it's also saying something, and we notice that we are thinking. At that point, unless we really want to continue the thought ends, because I created that separation between the thought and my awareness. So the main practice in the sitting meditation is observing everything that arises, like Steve was saying this morning, yeah. Observing sensations, emotions, feeling, moods, and thoughts. Sometimes you might be lucky enough to see a thought at the start. You just catch it at the beginning, and then it doesn't grow. It doesn't develop in anything. It just poof, finished. Or you might catch it in the middle after like 5 minutes that you're thinking something. The story has been growing and growing by the seconds, right? And then it becomes a saga. Thoughts can become a saga sometimes. No, it can go on and on and on. You might catch it in the middle of that saga. That's okay. It doesn't matter. In the moment you catch it, the thought stops. Good news. And we come back to the present moment with our attention. So that's the first thing, very important to understand, how to separate the thinking, my identification with the thinking mind, from understanding that I am not the thought, but I'm the one that is watching it in that moment. Okay. Obviously, in the moment I see a thought, it cannot be me. I cannot look at an object and being me. Yeah, the same like, okay, now we created mirrors, but if we didn't have mirrors, I couldn't see my face, right? I could see all around. I could even see maybe part of my bodies, but I couldn't see my eyes, for example, that I'm seeing. It's a little like that. So whatever I can see, I'm not that. So if I'm watching a thought, suddenly I'm aware that it's happening. Obviously, that's the object that I'm looking at. And I am the one looking. So I am the subject. And the same is true for everything that we experience within when we close our eyes or with our eyes open, and we perceive anything that arises within this consciousness. Like our consciousness, you can imagine, is like a big screen. And on these screens, there are like stories that goes through, images, sensations and emotions and feelings. It might be a thriller movie with a lot of tension and fear, or it might be a love story, a nice love story movie with a lot of yummy feelings and heartful sensations. It doesn't matter. Those are all objects, pleasant or unpleasant. Obviously, they're going through the screen of my consciousness. I am the one that is watching. I am the spectator of all this. Or we could say, I am the that presence, that consciousness, that awareness, that consciousness that is aware of all these stories, all these objects, all these phenomenon, all these experiences that happens within that screen. Okay. So now I would like to introduce you to something I often teach in Mandali when I'm there. And I call them anchors. And it's like, why anchors? Because they help you to anchor your attention to the present moment. In other words, they help you to be present, or to be in the present moment. What are these anchors? Well, they are related to the physical body. Okay. The physical body is a wonderful thing that has been given to us, wonderful gift. I mean, beyond understanding the perfection of the human body, it's the biggest, most evolved form on this planet, no doubt. Yeah, in that sense, we are the top of the pyramid. We're the most evolved. The body definitely is. And the body, the beauty of the body is that it's always in the present moment. Yeah. So as much as the mind, the thinking mind, is never in the present moment because it created time and it needs to move. The mind always needs to move, and to move created time, and it's always moving between past and future, like a pendulum. And like a pendulum, if it would stop, it would stop right in the middle, and in the middle, that is the present moment. That's why it stops. And in the present moment is the body, always. The body is fantastic in that sense. So anything that we do to feel the body, for example, is helping us to stay present in the present moment. So the senses, the 5 senses that we use to perceive the outer world, particularly in the tantric tradition, but not only, have been also studied and used by meditators and sages and mystics to not only perceive the outer world, but also to point towards the one who is perceiving the subject. We go back to the subject and the object. Let me explain it a little better. Normally, let's suppose I look at something, I look at a beautiful tree out in the garden. Okay, normally we think, okay, well, that's what the eyes are for, is to perceive the outer world so that I can see that tree. But there is more to that. What we do in meditation, and through meditation, we want to use the senses as imagine a double-pointed arrow. So on one end, they point outward, in this case, to the tree. But I can also use that moment of perception of that tree to become aware of the one that is perceiving. Much like we were saying before, the one that is catching the thought and is looking at the thought, or is looking at all the things that appear in the screen of the consciousness. Yeah. That same conscious awareness, that same presence, is in that moment looking at a tree. So those are good little practices we can do anytime, So I become very aware of the tree, and I look at it as much as I can without even thinking the word tree. I just look, and what is this thing that is growing out of the earth? How beautiful it is. I try to just feel it for what it is without letting the mind come in and say, oh, it's a tree, or it's an oak tree. Oh yeah, it's an oak tree. Because in the moment I let the mind come in and put labels, I miss the real experience of that tree. So I look as much as I can without thinking, just let me really look at this being. It looks amazing. But at the same time, I can also perceive myself, my consciousness. I become aware of my consciousness that is looking through my eyes to this object. So again, there is an object and a subject. When the eyes are closed, for example, we do not see. But for example, we hear sounds, yeah? So we can, again, using the perception of sounds to bring us to the present moment. And also, we can take one step further and we can try to perceive, yeah, but what is perceiving the sounds? Who is perceiving the sounds? It's not the ears. The ears are a channel through which the sounds travels, yeah? But it must have happened to many of you that you are watching a TV and you're so tired and you fall asleep. And maybe it's like a blaring loud movie or soccer game or whatever it is. And you fall asleep and you don't hear anything anymore, right? And you have no recollection of anything. And yet your ears are still open. Your ears are still functioning, but you don't hear anything. Why? Obviously, the one that is listening is not there. Which is what? Again, your consciousness. So what is perceiving the sounds is your consciousness, is not the ears. Otherwise, I would be able to hear the sounds even while I'm asleep, while I am unconscious. But it's not the case because the subject is gone. So we use in meditation, we use senses, the perception of the body, the perception of the sounds, to eradicate, to ground ourselves into the present moment. The first thing I will guide you through, and we do a little guided meditation, will be the sensation of the body on the earth, in particular, what we call force of gravity, the attraction of the planet on any form that is on it. It's a magnetic pull. There's many times we're not even aware of that, but it's an energy. So the planet is pulling our bodies towards itself. Thank God, because otherwise we would be all floating in space. Thank God it's there. So a beautiful thing to become aware of this weight. So becoming aware of earth energy and feeling like the body has become part of the earth. That's what we call grounding. That's a very nice, they bring a deep sense of being present when we ground ourselves. The other energy that we are not aware of at all, it's coming from the sky. So the sky is also, as much as the earth is pulling towards itself, the sky also pulls towards itself, but it's a much, much more subtle energy. Yeah. And in fact, it's air, and maybe because of that, yeah. So it's very etheric and subtle, not easy to perceive, but I can assure you it's there. And it's a big sky. It's actually infinite. So what we do also when we sit, we try to perceive, or it will happen by itself, that at a certain point, when you're really relaxed and you're in your meditation practice, suddenly you will feel like, whoa, suddenly your body straighten up, your spine is very erect, and you realize that there is something that goes upwards, that goes towards the sky. You can keep the back erect without any effort. That's a beautiful sensation when that happens. But if you cannot perceive it, no worries. You can imagine. I usually give this advice. Imagine there is a thread attached here, like a little thread that comes from the sky, attached to the back top of your head, and it's lightly holding you up there. And that's enough sometimes to even help your back to keep straight without any effort. Just the image of the thread attached here and holding you up. But sometime in the meditation, without wanting to, you will realize that it's happening, and you will realize, oh, that's sky energy. That's a good feeling. It's a nice feeling. So we sit right in the middle, in balance between these two energies. Yeah? We sit between earth and sky. We're so deeply grounded and rooted in the earth, in the present moment, in the here, and present, completely present and awake, and supported by the sky energy. In that sense, also, it's very symbolic, because man as such is a bridge between the earth, which is the world of form, the manifested, and the sky, which represents the unmanifested or the divine. Let's call it. So much like man is a bridge between the human, the animal, and the divine, same is the body when we sit, a bridge between earth and sky. Man is the only living being that has that capacity to be born human and to die divine. That's called the evolution of consciousness. It doesn't happen to rocks, it doesn't happen to trees, it doesn't happen to animals, but it happens to man. We have that possibility, but it requires some work, and that's why we're here. It doesn't usually happen just like that. That's why the great master and mystic Gurdjieff in the late 50s, he used to say, not all men have a soul. I was like, well, what do you mean they don't all have a soul? And he was talking about, you have to work on it. You have to develop that presence that we were talking about and crystallize that presence through practice. That's what he was referring to. Not everybody has a soul. Because if you don't crystallize that presence, you just walk around the world like a somnambulist, and they're like in a deep trance from birth to death. Nothing changes. You die exactly as you were born. There is no growth. There's no unfolding. There's no flowering in your life. So through practice and meditation, that's what we do. We facilitate that crystallization of the presence, disidentification from all objects. First of all, mind thoughts. But all objects that arise, slowly, through practice, we realize, oh, I'm not that. I am the witness. I'm the one that is seeing all this. I'm the subject. I am this presence that is living inside of me, that has always been there and will always be there, even after the body dies. I am this awake presence, this consciousness that perceives everything. Everything happens within that consciousness. That's why we say sometimes the outer world is inside of you. What does it mean? Well, because we perceive the outer world inside, isn't it? It's all perceived within this consciousness. So consciousness is the container, and all that we perceive is the content. All the objects are the content. But slowly, slowly through practice, we start feeling, not only understand intellectually, but actually feeling that we are the container. We are this big consciousness in which everything is perceived. Okay, I'm going really deep here, so I better stop. Otherwise you guys start going, I see smoke coming out of your ears and you start going, whoa, 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 where are we going here? But I think this is a great introduction. I don't want to overload you with concepts. That's plenty. Yeah. So how about we practice a little bit all this stuff that we talked about, and I guide you through a little sitting meditation. And so find a comfortable position where you can sit. And if you can sit with a straight back, wonderful, but relaxed, not like stiff. And if you need to lean on something, it's okay too, if you have a back problem or whatever it is, But maybe you can put a pillow on the lower back so you're leaning, but you have a more straight back. You don't lean completely, otherwise you fall asleep. Anything we lean upon, we lose energy into it. We leak energy into it. That's why it's more difficult to stay awake if we lean. But again, do so if you need to. It's important that we're comfortable. Otherwise, our attention keeps going on. I'm so uncomfortable. No, that's not good. Not a good start. Okay. And when you're ready, you will hear a bell ringing 3 times at the end, and then it's finished. We come back and we'll have a little sharing after that. If anybody has questions or want to share something, we'll have a little space for that. So we just relax in our sitting, and when you're ready, you can close your eyes. And we start bringing our attention inward. And start by feeling, what does the physical body, what does it feel like from inside? Just check it out. See if there is any areas that might carry a little tension. There's a little holding, maybe. Just bring your attention there and release that holding. Do a quick scan through the body. Starting from the muscles of the face, maybe just relax, and the neck and shoulder especially. And the torso and the back particularly. And all the way down. The pelvic area, and the legs and feet. Just let yourself, knowing that there's nothing we need to do now. We have this time for ourselves, nothing to achieve. Just be here in a relaxed state. And we bring our attention to the weight of the body on the cushion. or on the floor, on the chairs, wherever you're sitting. Feel that. Feel how the earth is pulling you towards itself. And allow that. Allow that. Let yourself fall. Let yourself being pulled. Let go into it like a baby into the arms of the mother. It's a beautiful feeling to know the earth is always there to hold us. Just let go into it. Let go even all your tensions. You can all give them to the earth. She can take it all. Your worries, anything, just let it all go down into the earth. Feeling that you're almost rooting, like putting roots down into the earth. Grounding yourself in this place, in exactly that place where you are. And then I become aware also of the very, very, very gentle and subtle pull on the top of the head. And that's the sky energy. I can imagine a little thread attached to the top of the head. As if that energy sustains me. It pulls me upward a little bit, just enough that I can sit straight without any effort. So I keep relaxing into the earth and feeling uplifted by the sky at the same time. In this way, we sit in balance between earth and sky. And right in the middle of these two energies, I might bring my attention to the movement of my breath and become aware of that. Right in the middle between earth and sky, there is a space where I am. And I notice my breathing that is happening by itself without me doing anything at all. So we just observe the breath coming in and going out. I feel the fresh air coming through the nostrils. Life force, pranic energy, feeding the body, feeding every cell. What a miracle. And then going out through a natural letting go, a relaxation. I observe which part of my body are moving as I breathe in. If my diaphragm is relaxed, my belly will get a little bigger as I breathe in. The diaphragm is a big muscle between my bottom ribs and my navel. That muscle expands downwards when I breathe in if I'm relaxed, and creates the swelling, growing of the belly, and it's a beautiful feeling. That's the natural way of breathing. There is no tension. When you sleep, you breathe like that. Babies and children, they sleep, they breathe like that, even during the day. It's a beautiful feeling to feel the prana, the chi, or the ki that is in the air, going all the way down to the belly to nourish your belly center below your navel. Also called dantian or hara. That point in below the navel is where your breath reaches, is the bottom, lowest part that the breath can go, or at least the energy, the chi that is in the breath. So if you are relaxed, you can feel your dantian or hara belly center. You can perceive it because it's exactly where the breath, the deepest part of the breath reaches before going out, up and out again. If you don't feel your belly moving, your diaphragm is a little bit tense still, no problem. Just enjoy the air coming at the nostrils and feeling the lungs. And maybe later during the practice, you'll notice that the diaphragm is relaxing and your belly is moving. Just enjoying the sensation of the breathing that is happening by itself. It is life breathing through you, through your body. You don't have to do anything. Just relax and watch. By maintaining attention on the breathing, I remain present. Or by maintaining attention to the sky energy and earth energy, I remain present. Or any other body sensation, I will also remain present through those. If at a certain point I noticed my attention was drifting away with a thought, I just notice that. In that moment, the thought will end, and I come back to the present moment. Coming back to the body, the breathing. And now we move one step deeper. By feeling the movement of the breath that is happening within this inner space, as if it's floating in this space, inner space. See if you can perceive that. Almost as if the upper part of your body was hollow, like a vase, an empty vase. And in this emptiness, in this space, the breathing is floating, the movement is happening, floating in this inner space. This inner space is where I perceive everything. Everything is perceived in this space. The breath, the body, sensations. I observe the thoughts or feelings or emotions arising, moods. Anything is perceived in this inner space, isn't it? This inner space is the container, therefore, and all that I experience is the content of this space. They are the objects. The container is also the subject. This very space is what perceives everything, so is the subject, which is you. This space, we could call it your consciousness. We could call it your true self, or your impersonal nature, original nature. Many names pointing to the same thing. This conscious awareness that is always there, experiencing and perceiving everything Allow yourself to rest in that space because that is your home. Keep observing, sensing, feeling, perceiving the inner space. This space might feel empty, or it might at times feel full, filled with your own presence. Remaining aware of anything that I experience within that space. Any experience will arise, exist, and disappear. Any thought, any sensation. I just keep observing them as they manifest and then they disappear again. You are the observer, you are the witness, and not the experience. You are the container in which everything is perceived. You are the one that is perceiving it all. Without any hurry, very slowly. When we're ready, start wiggling your fingers in your body, coming from the center to the periphery again, very, very gently. When you're ready, you slowly open your eyes. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful space. You guys went deep very fast. So, wow, that was a crash course in meditation. I give you an half an hour where I usually take 5 days to teach at Mandali. You're lucky. So take this as a blueprint, huh? Like when you sit, now you have to practice, practice, practice. There's nothing else to do. Now you know it all. There's not much more you need to know. Yeah, you can follow this as a guide, as a blueprint. And because everybody has to find, you are the explorer of your inner space. Nobody else can do it for you. And everybody has a different path and a different way to do it. So you have to find your way. But this is a very good start. It's a good blueprint you can follow if you want. And you can practice for weeks and months and years with this. So I would like to open the space if anybody has a question or wants to share something. And maybe because we are so many, it would be easier to write it on the chat if you have a question. And I will, something you want to share or whatever. Oh, there's already somebody. Thank you, Shastro. That was wonderful. I almost fell asleep a couple of times. Well, that means you were relaxed. I want to set up a little meditation corner in my home to help me get into that space with an altar and nice wallpaper or a picture. Can you recommend a website where I could have a look? A look for what? For the wallpaper? No, I'm not getting a website for what, but that's a great idea. And that's what we need to do, create the space, physical space and psychological space during the day to sit, and start with, if you're not used to meditation, just start small, take 10, 15 minutes. If you say, oh, I'm too busy, my life is too busy, well, start with 15 minutes. Right now we set 30 minutes, for example. See how fast it went. Start with 10, 15 minutes if you don't have time, or more, whatever you can. And then let it grow organically, don't make it like, oh, I have to meditate an hour. No, don't do it. It's an effort already. Start small, short, and then let it grow organically. And then you go like, oh, that felt so good, man. After I sat for those 15 minutes, I felt so much more alive and rested. I want to sit a little longer. Good. Then sit a little longer, but let it come by itself. Otherwise, it becomes again a mind thing, I have to meditate. And then that's starting with the wrong foot already. Yeah. Thank you very much, Shastro. And the collective energy, yes, it helps a lot to sit together. I've seen it again and again in this year that I did a lot of Zoom sessions. You won't believe, it's like being in the same room together. Space and time have nothing to do with meditation. You can feel, you become part of an energy field. Even though we're spread all over the world, we are connected. The mind cannot grasp that, but it is so, and I feel it constantly all the time. It helps. It helps. The collective, you're right. The collective energy helps. And we don't always have it, but when we have it, it's a blessing too. Here is, yes, a website store where I could get some inspirational images, wallpaper. Well, I'll let you do that. I'm sure you can find something that you will like. One question, when I get deep like that, I start seeing some deep blue light in front of my eyes, sometimes moving and pulsing. It feels nice. I just breathe with it and try not to get attached. Still wonder why it comes. Look, wonderful. It doesn't matter why. The fact is that it happens, right? So enjoy it. You said that it feels good, and so enjoy it. And you said don't get attached. You don't want to get attached. Also very good. Because we want to remember that anything that we experience, even the deep blue light pulsating, it's an experience. It's not you. Okay. So to get attached to the blue light and then want the next time, oh, I'm going to sit, so I want to see the blue light again. Maybe it never happens again. And the more you want it, the less it will happen, because it's attachment from the mind that is kicking in from the back door. It's again an experience. You are the one experiencing. You are the experiencer, and the blue light is an experience, another beautiful experience. Some experiences are beautiful, some are not so beautiful, some are very pleasant, some are unpleasant. It doesn't matter. The observer, the witnessing consciousness, has no judgment and no preferences. It's all included in this big container that is consciousness. Night and day, beautiful and ugly, pleasant and unpleasant. It's all welcome. It's all there. And that's why in the beginning I said we have to make ourselves available and be sincere in that, to be open to experience everything without going like, oh no, this I don't want to feel it, I put it under the carpet. Well, you know what happens when you put it on the carpet? You put it in your subconscious, and then sooner or later it will have to come back up because it's there. So let it come up and experience it, so it will dissolve. It will pass. Perceiving that conscious inner being is very interesting, as there is a space I don't know and have not explored. Yeah, well, I know many of us. It felt like a lot of space and very peaceful and very neutral. Exactly. Neutral, that's what I was saying. And peaceful, yeah, doesn't it feel good when you touch that space? It's like you can just expand in it. It is peaceful. It can be very peaceful. So, but especially when you don't fight with whatever experiences you're having. Just let them all be. Then there is just peace. It was great. Thank you, Shastro. I was in between sleeping and seeing the in-between thoughts space. First in black, then yellow with stripes. Yellow with stripes, I like it. So we have blue and yellow with stripes already. Really nice. Great. Great. Nearly fall asleep, but towards the end, I felt more of this inner space. Thank you. Yeah, it's okay. Well, it's easy to fall asleep, especially when you start a practice and you're not used to it, because for the simple reason that the body recognizes that there is a certain wavelength of the brain even that happens before sleep, you know? And when you enter meditation, you enter in that same wavelength, and the body that doesn't know it recognizes it as like, oh, I'm going to sleep. It's sleep time, you know? then the more you practice, the more your whole system knows that's not sleep, that's meditation, but they have the same wavelength. So in the beginning, it's easy to fall asleep. Don't worry, it's a good sign, means you're relaxed. But maybe try to sit when you're not tired. That helps. I personally like to sit in the morning, for example, because in the evening, I notice that I'm more tired and I'm less present. But if that is the only time you have in the day, the evening, go for the evening. And for you, it might be better the evening. Again, for everyone is different. So find your own rhythm, your own time, your own create your own practice. Yeah. I felt really grounded and also connected with divine. Thank you for the introduction to experience it that way. Yeah, very welcome. It is so. It is so. We are entering something that is beyond form and that can only be divine. What else can it be? Consciousness is our divine nature. Indeed. So entering into that space means like dipping your toes into the divine pool, you know, this lake of consciousness that is inside of us. How long do you meditate for each day? What type of meditation do you use? I use exactly this one, what we just did now. Yeah. And there are some videos on the Mandali website that of mine, of some sessions I gave at Mandali in another webinar. So you can also use those as a guidance if you want. There is some also guided meditation if you like in the beginning maybe to listen to the sound of my voice guiding you, you can use that too. Yeah, but eventually, you know, you're gonna just dive into silence. But it's good in the beginning to have some help. Nothing wrong with that. How long do I meditate? Well, I just mentioned that, you know, start short and go as long as you want, whatever time you have. Sometime you will realize that time, it just disappears. You know, you sit and it's so deep and quiet and peaceful that you can't believe you open your eyes and 1 hour has passed. You're like, what? I feel like I just closed my eyes. And other times, half an hour will feel like endless. You know, you go like, well, when is this gonna be over? I'm so aching and I'm so restless. And so time is a very relative concept. Sometimes I get lost on what type of meditation I should follow in the morning when I wake up. Do you have any tips where to start from again to catch up? Yeah, just what we did now. Do it as you get up in the morning. Fine. I usually get up. It's my personal thing. But anyway, as you asked, I get up, wash, make a cup of tea, stretch a little bit, and then I sit. Before doing anything, before turning on telephone, computer, before opening the door to the world, I sit. Because once you open the door, it goes inside your mind. It starts polluting the inner space. So let it out and sit first if you can. Do you also do online meditation courses? Yes, and you can find them all on YouTube in English. Just go to my channel or to the Mandali, where the Mandali is linked to my channel anyway. It's Shastro Music channel, because if you enter just Shastro Music, you'll see millions of videos coming up, which are also some of my music and blah, blah, blah. But go to the channel and there you will find all the meditation sessions. Very relaxing voice. Thank you very much. You should mention your YouTube website. Okay, I just did. You have created some amazing music that I listened to many nights. Okay, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed. Yes, there is also some good music to fall asleep if you want. Thank you very much. I feel very relaxed. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm used to meditate lying down on the floor. I know it is not suggested, but do you think it might be fine anyway? Look, if lying on the floor is the only way you can meditate because you have physical problems, lie on the floor, no doubts. But I can tell you, as I was saying in the beginning, what happens is that whatever we lean, if I lean, for example, like back on this chair, for example, and I meditate like this, of course, I can still meditate, but I will fall asleep more easily. So I lose presence. Why? Energetically, is because some of my energy is actually going into the back of the chair. Yeah. If you lie down, a lot of your energy goes into the ground, which is why we fall asleep lying down also. Yeah. Because all the energy leaks, which is beautiful when you need to sleep. It's difficult to sleep standing, right? You lie down and all the surface that touches the ground will leak energy into the ground and you fall asleep. So you go unconscious. So ideally, that's why they recommend not even leaning, sit and not even leaning backwards, and use the sensation of the sky energy that holds you up. Of course, you have a skeleton, the bone structure will also hold you up. So if the bone structure and the spine is aligned and the head is, and the neck is aligned and the head is very heavy. So if your head is not aligned, you're going to have like a lot of pain and stress on your neck. So use also the bone structure, because if you're aligned, you feel the gravity much less. In the sense, you don't have to hold and use muscles as much. And then again, to feel the pull of the sky also helps a lot. I have a morning ritual. First, some moving, gymnastic, things like that. That's great. Then a little bit yoga, and finally some meditation. Yeah, meditation after yoga is fantastic. I mean, yoga, it should be a preparation to meditation. I love it. I'm not a yogi in that sense, but the little yoga I did, it was so easy to sit afterwards. So I know it's good. It's great. And yoga was created by meditators for meditators anyway, right? In the Himalayas, that's where it was born. And these guys were sitting for hours a day and they were like, dude, I need to move my body. I need to do something, I can't go out of my cave, so I better invent something. And so they created all these yoga exercises so that they could balance the sitting with some dynamic, yin and yang, to balance the two energies. Okay, and it all fits in 20 minutes before family gets up. Wow, great. That's a quick one. Do you recommend to do the meditation first? For me, it's more like a bonus after the body needs. Yeah, whatever feels right to you. Huh? I just said that. Absolutely. Find your way. And definitely after yoga is great. And what an amazing guided meditation. I really was there hearing you, feeling relaxed. And it was hard for me to practice meditation in the past weeks, although I'm a yoga practitioner. The happenings of this world have affected my routine and could finally follow today. Thank you so much. Namaste. Yeah, I understand. And the world is in such a mess. It's such a chaos, right now. And there is also a lot of darkness in this energy. It's pulling on you if you're not careful. So this is a time where we need to become even more aware to not let the world come into your space, inner space. So you have to keep what I call mental hygiene as well. Be careful what you take in, what information you take in, what do you listen to. For example, if you listen just to the official news, you're in hell. I mean, it's all like, it's a big drama, and it's all like fear oriented. So it will create fear thoughts in you. So try not to let all this stuff in, as little as possible. Create a clean space as soon as you can, as often as you can inside of you. Because the world will always pull you out and down. The world is a big manifestation of our egoic mind. That's all it is. So we take our mind and we project it on a global scale, and that's the mess that has created. So what's happening now is the epitome, final expression, exasperated of the egoic mind, human egoic mind. So be very careful, keep it out as much as you can, and cherish the inner space and nourish that inner space that we had a taste today as much as possible. Because that is the true reality. The truth with a capital T is that space inside. Everything will be experienced. Whatever you need to accomplish in this life, whatever understanding has to come to you, whatever messages need to come to you, they all come through that inner space. All that is important, all that is creative, all that is loving, all that is beautiful, all that is peaceful will come through that inner space. The outer world is pure madness, it's chaos. It's the mind. Truly, it's an expression of the human mind. That's what we have done. The ego went so much out of proportion, and it took over, particularly the male ego, if I can be specific, created this big mess. So remember that you are not that, and keep it out as much as you can. And whatever you let in, be very aware of what you let in. Yeah, any information, any feeling, any input that comes in and you let it in, be aware of it at least. Don't get lost in it. Be careful how it affects your mood. Be aware of how it affects your thoughts. Are really your thoughts, or are they a puzzle that we put together by receiving different information, and then we put it together and we create a thought out of that? Watch that. So become aware, inner and outer awareness. And then practice during your day also when you're in movement, yeah? What we call mindfulness in everyday's action is as important as sitting. So if you have a busy life and you can sit only 10, 15 minutes, okay. But then you have another 17 hours that you can practice meditation. How? By remaining aware as much as you can of everything that you're doing. So mindfulness directed towards actions. So if I drink a cup of tea with mindfulness, I'm having breakfast, I pour my cup of tea, I'm aware that I'm pouring the tea. I feel the warmth of the tea in the cup. Yeah, I'm present with that. I taste the tea, I feel the warmth, the warm liquid going inside my body. I smell the tea, I taste it, I enjoy it. I'm present in that moment. I'm experiencing drinking a cup of tea fully. So I'm present. That's meditation. Or I can pour my tea and drink a cup of tea while I'm thinking what I have to do today, and I have to go to the office, or this and that problem I need to solve. And suddenly the cup is empty. I didn't even realize I was drinking tea, let alone knowing what tea was it or what taste it had, right? You can live your life like that, or you can live your life like the first scenario, with full awareness and presence, or completely absent in a trance, lost in your thoughts constantly. It's your choice. So it's a great practice, the everyday life. You know, you go to the bicycle just enjoying the biking, the movement of the body, the air on your face, the smells, the people around. Be present with that. Anytime you don't need your mind to either solve a problem or organize something or whatever task that the mind is necessary and useful for, whenever you don't need that, enjoy just being present with what is happening, with what you feel, with what you're doing, with what you taste, with what you see, with what you hear, with the ground under your feet, becoming aware of the pull of the earth, even when you're standing, how your verticality connects with earth and sky. Be present through that. You got many hours to practice. Yeah. So that is mindfulness. And then that's what we call wu wei, no? In Chinese, they call wu wei, which means action without action, or actionless action. Why is that? Because when you're so present, you're very quiet inside. So nothing moves inside, even though your body is moving and doing things. At the same time, you notice inside you're very quiet and silent. So it's an action, but in reality, there is no action inside. That's why they call it like that. So when you practice mindfulness in everyday's action, you come to touch those spaces once in a while. And you go like, oh my God, I'm running and doing all these things, but I feel so relaxed and empty inside. Beautiful. You touch. That's wu wei. So you can be in meditation while you do all your things during the day as well. Practice that too. There is something in the sitting that is precious because you are not involved with the world at all. You close your eyes and you can really, it becomes a very subtle, you're able to perceive the subtleness, you know, the whispers of existence. But the day is long and we need to practice presence throughout the day, not just when we sit. It's not enough. It's not enough. And next time we see, I'll explain you why we need to do all that and why it's not enough. Now it's 5 o'clock. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And
yeah. Thank you, Shastro. So
yes, namaste to everybody, and kisses and hugs. All the hugs and kisses that you're not receiving, I'm sending them now to you virtually.
No.
And see you next time. Love you all.